Good morning. On behalf of the Gavriel family and the Atkinson and Plaistow community, I want to welcome you all to the Lance Corporal Dimitrios Gavriel Memorial Bridge Dedication Ceremony. My name is Cris Pignatiello, and it's an honor to be here to dedicate this bridge after my friend Dimi. What a great day for a celebration. The Greek gods are with us with this sun, I'll tell you right now. No doubt about it. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment to introduce Dimitrios' parents are here today in attendance with us, Cris and Penelope Gavriel, along with Dimitrios' sister, Christina. Gavriel is with us here today. Thank you. Thank you. And now I'd like to start the ceremony and ask you all to please stand to honor our colors with the singing of the national anthem by Amy Harriman.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Amy. Please remain standing for the invocation given by Pastor Jim at Atkinson Congregational Church, who is a 20-year veteran of our armed services.
Please join me in a spirit of prayer. Creator of the universe, we thank you for the beauty of this day and for our country, where we can freely gather to honor and celebrate and pay tribute. We gather this day to dedicate this bridge to Lance Corporal Dimitrios Gavriel, a hero and inspiration. He was a true American patriot, moved to serve in the Marine Corps after the horrors of 9/11, deployed to Iraq, who returned to his unit after sustaining injury, only to be killed by an explosion. God, we know he rests safely in your arms. Creator, we also remember the hundreds of thousands of others who have given their lives to keep us safe and free. We remember those who survived their service only to live the rest of their lives with physical or emotional injuries that may never heal. It is a blessing, dear God, that we are able to honor Dimitrios in this way. We pray that as people cross this bridge, they see this marker and take a moment to give thanks for Dimitrios and all those who made the ultimate sacrifice to keep us free. We also ask your continued blessing on his family and friends and all those who have served or now served. Amen.
Okay, why are we here today? We're here today to celebrate the life of a noble patriot who grew up right here in Atkinson, New Hampshire. It's been 14 years since his death, and I started this project because I really felt like he needed to be known throughout the community. It's such an inspiring story, and years go by and people forget. And I didn't want that to happen in this situation, and I felt that putting a sign up for people to drive by this bridge will always know that a hero and a patriot lived here. I would like to first thank all our veterans who are here today, came out to support me. Thank you for coming out here today, and thank you for your service. All the elected officials and delegates that have come out and take time out of their busy day to come here, thank you. Thank you very much. We have some great speakers here today, and with our first speaker, today would not have become a reality if it wasn't for the first speaker that we had today. He's really been influential in helping me throughout this whole project and making sure the bill passed and helping me throughout the Senate. Senate President, Senator Chuck Morse. Please sit down.
Good morning, and thank you for having me join you here today. It's clear by all the people that gathered that Dimitrios Gavriel continues to be loved and respected member of the Atkinson community. Thank you all for coming out to honor this great man's life today. Lance Corporal Dimitrios Gavriel was the first in his family to be born in America. He attended Timberlane Regional High School in Plaistow, where he was a standout student, state champion heavyweight wrestler, and well known in his community. After high school, Dimitrios attended and graduated from Brown University. He moved to New York in the early 2000s, where he began a career as an investment analyst on Wall Street, working for companies like Payne Webber, J.P. Morgan, and Bank of America. He found early success in the banking industry, but was deeply affected by September 11th terrorist attacks. During the attacks, two of his Brown fraternity brothers died in the World Trade Center. We know that Dimitrios was speaking to one of his friends on the phone while he desperately tried to escape from the building. As you can imagine, these events moved Dimitrios to leave his successful career behind on Wall Street to join the Marines, saying that he owed it to his friends and others who had died in the tragic events of September 11, 2001. Dimitrios shed 40 pounds from his 6'1" frame to cope with the lingering knee and ankle injuries from wrestling in order to complete grueling 13-week Paris Island boot camp. He believed that he could be an active force in eradicating what was wrong by joining the military. As Dimitrios' mom said, he joined during wartime, and he was proud of that. Lance Corporal Gavriel's journey eventually led him to be deployed to Iraq, where he actively fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. His parents learned that he was on the front lines of duty only weeks before his death, since Dimitrios did not want to tell them and have them worry about his role as a rifleman. On November 19, 2004, Dimitrios sustained an injury to his leg and was in line to receive a Purple Heart. However, he chose to courageously return to his unit and continue to fight. Only 8 days later, he was killed by an explosion in a man-on-man fighting in Fallujah. As his parents have said, our only consolation is he went for a noble cause, and his death was worthy of what he believed. It was a heavy price to pay, but knowing him like we did, he would have given his life to disseminate all of these ideas and ideals that he held. Lance Corporal Gavriel was buried in Arlington National Cemetery and awarded 2 Purple Hearts by President George W. Bush. Memorials have been erected in his honor in New York and at Brown University. His scholarship fund has been set up in his name at Timberlane High School. But today, we are here to bring this hero and his legacy back to the place where he grew up. Naming a bridge over Little River between Plaistow and Atkinson after Lance Corporal Gavriel is just a small way that New Hampshire can honor and remember an incredibly courageous young man and leader. His service to our great nation and his willingness to defend our freedoms has had a lifelong impact on his friends and his family. everyone in his community, and all of those he met. This legislation was the idea of an old friend of Dimitrios, Cris Pignatiello, who has helped us to rightfully honor and honor this great defender of our country. A lot of the stories that I've shared with you today came from his testimony in Concord in support of the legislation. I want to thank you, Cris, for everything you've done. It is a great honor to introduce Governor Cris Sununu, who is here with us today. I want to thank you, Governor, for your efforts to make sure this legislation was passed in a manner that would honor the family, and I want to thank you for that meeting that we had with the family. I truly appreciate it. Governor Cris Sununu.
Well, good morning. It is a great day. It really is. As we're sitting there, we got the sun beaming down. We got a huge crowd, right? I mean, think about it. Look behind you, right? We're 50 deep here, right? We're here. It's a solemn occasion, to be sure, but the good Lord doesn't bless us with days like this just on solemn occasions. This is a day to celebrate. It really is. And when you look around at the family and the friends and the community that have come out to remember Dimitrios, what he gave, and he gave a lot, what his family gives every single day with his loss, it reminds ourselves, it reminds us what we have to take, right? The obligation that we carry with us in making sure that days like this, where we talk about veterans and sacrifice, the whole concept of being free isn't free, there's a price to be paid, that's an obligation that we carry with us every single day. You know, we have days of the year, we have Memorial Day, right? We have Veterans Day. We have the events that we celebrate and talk about on 9/11, the tragedies of 9/11, and we do events. But those aren't single days. I mean, they shouldn't be single days. When we remind ourselves what America is about, what that flag is about, how important that flag is, what it represents, what it stands for, everyone who has given everything to make sure that we can stand here on a day like this and have a flag like that fly over this bridge in honor of a true American hero. I mean, a real hero. Think about this. I mean, you have veterans, and God bless folks that sign up every single day. They come out of school, they join the Army, they join the Marines and the Navy and the Air Force. I don't want to leave anyone out. And the Coast Guard. And the National Guard. Right? But let's think about his story for 2 seconds. He was brilliant. He went to Brown. He went to Wall Street, making good money, big money on Wall Street, and he was there when the tragedy of 9/11 hit. Could have stayed in New York like a lot of folks. Young man, huge career ahead of him. The potentials were endless. And what did he say? He said, I'm going to join. I'm going to join the fight. I'm going to go from making money in Wall Street to 13 weeks of hell on Paris Island because I can't wait to get over there and join those who are representing that. Because what that represents, the importance of the freedoms that that represents, to bring that across the globe and to remind ourselves there are still millions, if not billions, of people in this world that don't have an inkling yet of what real freedom is, that are still living under oppression or whatever the situation might be, every single day. And he stood up and he said, I'm going. God bless it, right? That's a story to keep telling, not just today, but 365 days a year. So it's why when we talked about the idea of, you know, when Cris said, hey, I have an idea of putting this plaque on this bridge to, you know, honor him, we jumped at the chance. Because every time you go across the bridge, it isn't just to look at a sign. I mean, as those that might be driving, or maybe we're traveling with our kids or our coworkers or whatever it might be, we look at that sign and we got to remind ourselves what it was, who that person was. Why was there a sign put there? What did they truly stand for? What war or effort did they fight for, right? When did their sacrifice, when was their true sacrifice given? And I mean, I'm talking as a dad now. I got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I think all of us that are parents here, and there's clearly a lot of them here, we got to remind ourselves to tell those stories. My kids were all born after 9/11. They hear the stories. I mean, it's similar. I mean, it was well after. I was born after Pearl Harbor Day, in case you can't tell. I think a lot of us were, right? And so we grew up hearing about the importance of Pearl Harbor Day, that moment, right? The incredible shock of that moment, and how a country rose up and said, again, we're going to go overseas and fight the oppression, because it does matter. We might not know those folks we're fighting for. They might be complete strangers, but it really does matter, and we're willing to give ourselves and make that sacrifice. We heard those stories. My kids will hear the same stories on 9/11 and what it was. And now when we travel over this bridge, or frankly any other bridge or road that has similar signs honoring veterans, let's remind ourselves to take a second, just a small moment, and tell our kids, look at that. That must have been a real hero. What did they stand for? Take 2 seconds to read the sign, to understand what it's all about. It's not just a sign for the family. It's a sign for us traveling across the bridge to remind ourselves what sacrifice is about. So it is a day of remembrance, and we want to thank God that we get to stand here today, and God bless his family. I mean, that's a sacrifice they carry with them every single day, that they know that Dimitrios isn't here with them. Let's remember them. Let's give an extra prayer for them and their family. Let's take a little extra time every once in a while. Bow a head, bend a knee. Thank the big man upstairs for heroes like this that have stood for our country, that have stood here, that is a son of New Hampshire, a son of Atkinson, of this county. That's a great source of pride for all of us. Let's make sure we're sharing that pride, reminding ourselves what that's all about with that next generation, because at some point it will fall to them too to have to stand up. And maybe it will be our sons and daughters that stand up and say, it's time for me to join. There's another conflict somewhere. There's freedom being infringed on somewhere. That's an obligation that I grew up with, understanding what that was all about, so we're going to step up and serve. That's what America's about. It's about service. And it's our job to make sure that we're reminding ourselves and that next generation what that's about, what heroes really are, what that flag really means, and what glorious days like this are, a day of celebration for one of America's true heroes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Next up is a performance of a salute to America by a selected group of the Timberlane Regional High School band. Thank you very much, Timberlane Owl Band. Okay, our next speaker is Barry Chooljian and Don Woodworth, who have been mentors, friends, and coaches for Dimitrios from the beginning of time. And they both do a lot of community service and been part of our community for many years. I'd like to welcome them both up.
I'm Barry Chooljian. I'm here today with our high school principal, Donald Woodworth, as we were both Dimmy's high school wrestling coaches back in the early 90s, where he was a state champion for us. Dimmy was a ferocious competitor, but a great sportsman. He would crush his opponents and then gently help them up off the mat with a gentle tap on their shoulder. This was the nature of our heavyweight champ, fierce in battle, gentle in spirit. We both feel blessed to have been involved in Dimmy's life and had the good fortune of getting to know such a great family as the Gavriels. We both feel blessed. It is certainly an honor for us to be here. It is honor on behalf of our school, our wrestling program, and on behalf of Dimmy's teammates to be here and be a part of today's recognition. Thank you to Governor Sununu, Senator Hassan, and Senator Morse for supporting this dedication and recognition of such a tremendously special person. As a leader, as a state, as a country, as a school, what and who we take time to recognize and praise tells us a lot about what we value, what we support, and what we believe in. For Dawn and I and our program, we so appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this dedication to recognize Dimmy and all he stood for. At Timberlane, we annually recognize one senior student with the Dimmy Gavriel Leadership Award, a prestigious recognition for a senior student who reminds us of the great character, leadership, and genuine good nature that Dimmy embodied. We also, due to the generosity of the Gavriel family and friends, continue to present scholarships annually in Dimmy's name. We will forever remember Dimmy's character and the strength of his leadership, as well as the great sacrifice he made for the ideals that he believed in. Thank you, Cris Pignatiello, for all your efforts to make this happen on behalf of your good friend and ours. Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate you coming and supporting Dimmy and his family in this tribute. Thank you very much.
Not to be redundant, but it is a genuine honor to stand before the Gavriel family. Governor Cris Sununu, the best Sununu speaker I've heard. Senate President, Senator Chuck Morse, Senator Hassan, several veterans of our armed forces, close friends of Dimmy and his family, his high school and college teammates, co-workers, comrades, members of the Timberlane District, the high school band, to honor one of the great heroes of our state and of our nation, Dimitrios Gavriel. Speaking for our schools and for our 4 district communities, we hold tight to the fond recollections of Dimmy's competitive spirit, self-confidence, his charismatic smile. Dimmy was the personification of Timberlane High School's model student. He possessed a great mind, was a hard worker. He excelled in all aspects of his education. He was a leader in the classroom and on the teams that he loved to go to battle with. He was among the most respectful and most respected students I have ever met, strong in stature and strong in character. As a Timberlane student, he was unique, a young man on a mission to achieve great things. That Dimmy became a successful student athlete at Brown University and afterwards successful working in the financial world on Wall Street was no surprise to any of us. Similarly, it was no surprise that Dimmy responded to the tragedy of 9/11 and the loss of several friends and co-workers by offering his heart and soul to the defense of our country. When Dimmy came home to attend a wrestling meet ahead of shipping out, he shared his motivation with us. He explained that enlistment was his calling, his opportunity to do a great thing for all of us. He wanted his life to have purpose. Since his passing, Dimmy's picture has been prominent on the high school's wall of Fallen Heroes Memorial in the hallway outside of our cafeteria. We have a great tradition of Timberlane students going on to serve our nation in the military. As a school and a community, we offer all of our veterans prayers of gratitude for the sacrifices they have made for our nation. In a sense, this dedication in Dimmy's honor is recognition for our shared responsibility for protecting the freedoms that we all enjoy as Americans, not only in recognition of Dimmy's individual valor and service. It's yet another way to ensure that we do not forget the price of freedom. So it is with great joy that we gather here today to shine a light on Dimmy's life and to dedicate this bridge to his memory. And I'm sure that the brilliance of his life will come to mind each time we pass this spot. I know that from this day forward, as I cross this bridge, as I often do, images of Dimmy's life will flash before me, and I'll honk my horn or flash my lights or in some way salute him as my way of saying thank you. Thank you, Dimmy.
Thank you, guys. Okay, our next speaker is Christian Dominguez of 1st Battalion, 8th Marines. I'd like to welcome up.
A team of researchers from Yale recently published an article on friendship. They concluded the average person makes 412 friends in a lifetime, but only 1 in 14 last. The Marine Corps is a special place where the most unlikely of friendships spawn. In the spring of 2004, Bravo Company of the 1st Battalion 8th Marines were getting set to deploy to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. As platoons started to plus up and gain strength in an attempt to become fully operational, 1st Squad, 1st Fire Team was born. Under our leadership of Donnie Gilland, our team leader, my fire team consisted of Jeremiah Hughes. He was from Tennessee. I dubbed him the Muscle. He's probably the strongest person I've ever met. Dimitrios Gavriel. He was the brains, wisdom, and the core of our team. And myself, Christian Dominguez. I always said I was the looks. Thank you. Gavriel told me that I was arguably the most annoying person he's ever met, so he dubbed me the Gnat. Gavriel was called several names by those who loved him. Meech, Dim, Dimmy, Zorba. But the Marine Corps is a funny place where we all mispronounce everyone's name regardless of how many times it's corrected. Majority rules. This is the untold story of Lance Corporal Dimitrios Gavriel, his time spent in the Marine Corps, and the everlasting impact he left on those he served with. Gavriel completed the School of Infantry around April 2004, and he reported to our unit during a field exercise on Camp Lejeune. My first impression of him was, wow, it's a grown man. He was 10 years my senior. Most of us were 1 year removed from high school. For me, I recently finished my 7th consecutive year of summer school. I was looking to the Marine Corps to help get my life on track. Gavriel reports to my fire team, and he's automatically assigned a leadership role. He became a saw gunner, second in command on the fire team. My job was basically to be his assistant, shadow him, hold his gear, and be there whenever he needed. During my time of being his shadow, I learned about leadership, selfless service, and life. Over the course of our deployment, Gavriel and I became really close. We spent countless hours together on shift, normally 4 hours at a time. To make the monotonous time fly by, Gavriel came up with ways to make it more enjoyable. He saw an opportunity to teach me valuable lessons. We called them Gavrielisms. 5 of them of which I still employ today, and I encourage my peers to follow them, as I believe they're my driving force. The first one is self-worth. Your journey for happiness will always fall short if you don't have a deep love for yourself. Acknowledge your talents, focus on the positives, and always be willing to adapt. He went on to say, for what is a man, what has he got? If not himself, then he is not. I asked him if that was a famous philosopher or something. He said, no, Sinatra. Although I took immense pride in annoying him, I loved making him laugh. His laugh was contagious and it really jolted through his body. The second Gavrielism is influence. Great leaders only do one thing. They influence. Developing the Marines around you, making them better. That's what great leaders do. If you were to positively influence 10 people, and they influence 10 people, the cycle can remain constant. A positive impact on the world can occur. So influence. The third one's integrity. Doing the right thing when no one's looking. It's important. Doing so will nest a concrete culture into your beliefs. It will become the only way you operate. He told me, my integrity is important to me, and yours should be to you. Don't ever put me in a position to jeopardize my integrity, and I'll never put you in one. The fourth one is something I wish I listened to 14 years ago, and he had to break it down to me and use my lingo. The fourth one is, bro, invest. Arguably the most fundamental lesson that can be taught in personal finance is the importance of saving and investing at a young age. It is vital to the process of wealth accumulation. He went on to say, compounding interest separates the rich from the broke. It's the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. I said, wow, is that Sinatra, Frankie Blue Eyes? He said, that was Albert Einstein. The fifth one is fail forward. He spoke often of John C. Maxwell, America's expert on leadership. Maxwell said, fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. Gavriel taught me that failing was inevitable. Those that are able to remain resilient while adjusting their methodologies will remain on top. Gavriel insisted I didn't confuse this message with being prepared. He was prepping me for my transition from Marine to civilian. He told me practice a firm handshake. Always have a resume handy. And when the time comes that you may have to make a speech, always start off with a made-up statistic from an Ivy League school. It'll make you sound smarter. 1% of my life on this planet was time spent with Gavriel. I've only known him for 232 days. Yet here I am talking about the overwhelming influence I've received from him. His leadership carved me into the person I am today. I've passed some of his knowledge, his wisdom, on to Marines and soldiers I've had the good fortune of leading. So today I challenge you. Fail forward. Invest. Have integrity. Understand your self-worth. And go find your 10 to influence. In Gavriel's honor. Semper Fi.
Thank you, Christian. Next, we're going to have a performance of God Bless America by Ellie McCormick.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Ellie. I'd like to welcome up our next speaker, U.S. Senator Maggie Hassan.
Well, thank you so much, Cris, not only for emceeing today, but for all the work that you have done to bring us to this day. To Governor Sununu and Senator Morse, to Pastor Thomas, to all of the speakers who have graced us today, thank you for being here. And to all of our service members, to our veterans, and to your families who are with us today. Your bravery, your courage, and sacrifices ensure that our country is safer and our freedom is stronger. Thank you. And to the family and friends of Lance Corporal Dimitrios Gavriel, thank you not only for being here, thank you for raising a hero and a patriot and sharing him with all of us. and for the sacrifice you made and you continue to make as you miss him every day. I am honored to be with the Gavriel family and with all of you as we pay tribute to his memory and his legacy through this memorial ceremony. And on a personal note, I just have to say I have never been more proud to be a Brown University alumna than I am today. Thank you. In New Hampshire, we have a proud tradition of service. Service that is exemplified in the bravery of our fallen heroes like Dimitrios Gavriel. In hearing his story, it is just so clear that Dimitrios understood that there is a cause greater than any one of us, the United States of America. Raised here in Atkinson, he selflessly volunteered his service following the horrific events of September 11th, leaving his friends and family, as well as his career, behind in order to join the Marines. As we all have heard, he was eventually deployed to the front lines in Iraq as a Lance Corporal, where he lost his life. Dimitrios sacrificed everything on behalf of his fellow Granite Staters and Americans, and the ideas that bind us together in this democracy. He sacrificed so that every one of us could have the opportunity to be safe, to be free, to work hard, and to pursue our dreams with those we love. He was a patriot who believed in the strength and in the promise of future generations of Americans. As we honor his memory today through this bridge dedication ceremony, I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Dimitrios' family and his friends. Just as our respect and gratitude for his sacrifice is enduring, I know that the pain of your loss endures as well. Please know that our hearts break for your loss, and that you have our everlasting gratitude and support. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here today, because it's such an important way not only of remembering Dimitrios, but remembering all of our fallen heroes and acknowledging that fewer than 1% of Americans choose to serve today. What an extraordinary 1% they are. We owe them, we owe Dimitrios, we owe all our fallen heroes a gratitude that we can never truly repay. But we have to always try. Designating this bridge in Dimitrios Gavriel's name is an important way that we can remember this selfless and brave Granite Stater. And it is up to all of us to honor the memories of our fallen heroes each and every day as we drive across this bridge or as we see other reminders. It should spur all of us on to strive to uphold the ideals that they valiantly fought for, gave their lives for. Liberty, justice, equality, that's what makes us Americans. And we cannot have liberty without equality and justice. We can't have equality and justice without liberty. It is all connected. And it is what binds us as Americans. And it is what generation after generation of Americans have fought to protect and to ensure. On the eve of D-Day, Dwight Eisenhower wrote a message to his troops. And he said that when they marched with liberty-loving people everywhere. And those liberty-loving people marched with them. That's who we are. That's what Dimitrios Gavriel fought for, gave his life for, as all of our other fallen heroes have done. So our job is to make sure that our country is ever worthy of their service and their sacrifice. God bless you all. God bless the Gavriel family and Godspeed. God bless the Granite State and the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. What a patriotic day we have here today. I think if Dimmy was looking down, he would be in amazement. He might be saying about time, but he would definitely be in amaze on how many people were showing up here today. Okay, now we're going to have Gina Surrette come up and talk on behalf of the family.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. I need my hands. Good morning, everyone, if it's still morning. Forgive me for having to continue to refer to my pages. Thank you all for being here today. I am honored to speak for the Gavriels today in more ways than I can clearly express. For those of you who don't know who I am, the Gavriels have asked me to read this for them. On behalf of Dimitri, the Gavriel family and I would like to thank Cris Pignatiello and Josh Guide, two wonderful, wonderful friends of his. I have such cotton mouth. Who have spearheaded this project in his honor, as well as Brett Morgan and Jason Lewis, and everyone else that I can't think of right now, for their contributions and their support. I'd also like to thank Scott Perkins and the Beverly Fire Department for the flag. That's mine. Thank you, Senator Chuck Morse, for introducing the bill, and Governor Cris Sununu for signing it. Many thanks also to the town of Atkinson, a lovely place, a place where Dimitri lived his formative years, a lovely place. There we go. Special thanks to coaches Chooljian and Woodworth, both of whom have been invaluable friends and mentors to him. And my thanks to them for kicking his butt when he deserved it. This one speaks from my heart too. I wish I were as good a speaker as Dimitri was, but I'll try. Thank you all for being here to honor him. The dedication of this bridge, this particular bridge, is special to him, for he spent countless hours as a youngster in the creek below it, hunting for frogs, snakes, turtles, and the like, many of which ended up in his room. Instead of me speaking about Dimitri, I will share two documents he left behind, for his thoughts are poignant and eloquent. His anguish, selflessness, and patriotism leading to his joining the Marine Corps is exquisitely stated in his own words in the first document and in the letter he sent from Iraq to thank a church congregation for a care package he received from them while deployed. Excuse me. The letter to the church arrived 2 days after he was killed in the fight for Fallujah. First, his thoughts post 9/11. He penned down his thoughts for himself, writing in the third person. The revealing of his personal anguish, witnessing the demise of the towers on 9/11. Oh my God. Being just a block away that day and subsequently. Mother of pearl. Dimitri shared this document with a friend because that friend was challenging his decision to go to war, like many of us did. The first time this document was given to his family was after his death. Excuse me. September 28th, 2003. And I quote, "And so came the time when the nest in which he so snugly fit between oh my, may I start again? And so came the time when the nest in which he so snugly fit began to ebb against the incessant wash of turmoil and doubt. Left without shelter, he knew the time had come to cast wings into the blowing maelstrom above and pray good fortune would once again smile upon him as it had so many times before. The wash had claimed so many of his friends and had rendered him invisible to others who remained." Yes, please. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ooh. For those of you who don't know, I'm in demolition, and if I tip this over, it's perfect. Sorry. The wash had claimed so many of his friends and had rendered him invisible to others who remained. But the few, the close who watched his plight, saw his unrest and rushed to assuage the pain. Their love, whose purity knew no rival, soothed the deepest wounds of his heart, but he knew not to fall into its intoxication. For the ecstasy blurred his vision, which lay trained upon the hard and ominous horizon. Stay here, stay safe, they pleaded. But this is the only way it can be done, he replied sadly, slowly rising to unfurl powerful wings that lay dormant for so long. A deafened ear once again turned to those whom he held dearest, and his soul bled as their sorrowful cries muffled against the gathering, growing updraft of heated blowing air. At once, the powerful wings marshaled the draft, and he rose with a tremendous jolt above the home which he no longer recognized. He bore deep into his heart, knowing this torment, which stood as the ultimate barrier to so many, was really the threshold to promises he had made to himself during a time that had long passed. The years of sadness and doubt had nearly succeeded in their attempts to cease his plight, but there he soared, defiantly, in the thin air where so few dared to climb. Exhilarated by the returning joy of flight, he gracefully circled one last time over his old home, looking down upon the many who had questioned his unrest so many times before. Their looks of doubt began to fade, and those who once cried began to wave. His heart warmed towards them more so than it had ever done in the past, for he had never asked them to see the world as he did. Nor did he ask them to endure the many trials that lay ahead. Yet there they stood, urging him onwards. Excuse me. Months turned to weeks, days, and finally minutes. And from his heights, he checked his watch, diverting gaze from the swirling darkness and uncertainty of the abyss below, to reflect one last time at the trail he had cut through these past years, which, at long last, felt substantial enough to call life. Looking down from his course at shores where hot winds howled and waves of doubt banged away with the fury of 1,000 defeats, he soared unscathed, defiant. Understand me, know, he bellowed into the future, that I will never walk alone. For my soul belongs to my friends as much as it does to me. End quote. Jimmy's letter to Michigan, the church congregation, is as follows. I moved to a small apartment next to Central Park in New York City and began the long hours of the grind on Wall Street. I remember those years as some of the best of my life, surrounded by close friends and good times. So how, after all this, did a guy like me end up in Iraq? Oh dear. The answer is pretty simple when I look to the young Marines at my left and my right. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something. No, give something to deserve all the good things we as Americans enjoy and sometimes take for granted as we move through the years of the good lives we lead under the safety and freedom of our flag. Everyone lost something on that terrible day of September 11th. I lost my close friends, brothers you might say, guys I grew up with, teammates, pals, mentors, and confidants. I watched the towers fall helpless from a block away in the streets of New York. And I made a promise to God that I would do all I could to keep something like this from happening again. I left a job I loved, said goodbye to a circle of close friends, and joined the Marines, the perfect place for a guy who wants a front row seat to the sweeping changes the world is currently experiencing. No man can know just exactly how much his effort has changed the world out there, but together we have chased much evil away from the power and have shown those who, for one reason or another, hate our way of life, that we are a nation of people who refuse to live under the threat of terror. We are out here for the things we miss most: green grass, football games, flowers, Gina, and the fresh, cool breeze of home. Most importantly, we're out here for you. He didn't really say Gina. He should have, though. Who make our land so special. Semper Fidelis, Dimitrios Gavriel, right? And I'm the one who screws up his name? Dimitrios Gavriel, November 2nd, 2004. Also, Semper Fidelis, yep. Semper Fidelis, also from his sister Christina, who is a former Marine, not an ex-Marine. May I have a drink of water first, please? This one has to come out right. You're awesome, thank you. And I still learn. Ευχαριστώ. Στην οικογένεια, Gavriel, τα σε αγαπώ πάντα. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gina. At this time, I'd just like to once again thank all our speakers that participated in today's event, and everybody who's also was here today in attendance and took time out of their day to be here, and our veterans. Thank you all. At the end of the ceremony, we are going to have a reception at the American Legion Post 4 in Haverhill, right across Dimmy's Bridge over here, past Holy Angels. All are welcome. Okay, without further ado, at this time, we'd like to do the unveiling of the sign. So if we can just maybe... we'd like the speakers and delegates to come over so we can take a picture and do the unveiling, and the family, if the family would like to join. Okay, I'm going to do a countdown, 1, 2, 3 countdown. Okay, to introduce the Lance Corporal Dimitrios Gavriel Bridge. 1, 2, 3. Pull harder! All right, there we go, there we go. That will be the end of the ceremony. Once again, thank you all for coming. God bless America and the great state of New Hampshire.